This morning, President Trump's former national security advisor John Bolton is speaking out after being charged with 18 counts of retention and transmission of national defense information.
I think he's, a bad person. I think he's a bad guy, yeah.
Bolton is accused of sharing more than 1,000 pages of information about government activities. The indictment claims he used a personal email account to share notes about his day-to-day activities with his wife and daughter, neither of whom has proper security clearance.
In his first reaction to his indictment, John Bolton says he is the victim of the very thing that President Trump has spent years complaining about, the weaponization of the Justice Department. Except this time, John Bolton says it's his former boss's Justice Department that is doing precisely that to him. He says in this statement that he looks forward to defending himself against these charges and that he has never compromised American foreign policy or national security during his career. But he makes clear what he believes is the underline of this entire indictment against him, which is the president's retribution. John Bolton has become a huge critic of Donald Trump's. He did not vote for him in the last election, and he criticized the way that Trump approached foreign policy and the presidency, criticisms that obviously were elevated given he had a first-person perspective to all of that as Trump's national security advisor. He makes clear that he believes he is only being targeted here because of those criticisms of Trump. That's the same thing we've heard from people like the New York Attorney General Letitia James and the former FBI Director James Comey, who say they believe all of these prosecutions are driven by politics.
If I was the deep state and I wanted to destroy America, I would rig the election with a puppet candidate, one that was so compromised that they would never say a word about it. I would create a false flag that allows for mail-in ballots. I would be in charge of the ballot counting machines. I would create a false flag to blame all who question the results of the election. If I was the deep state, I would prosecute anyone that went against me. I would sue and prosecute anyone that spoke up about the fraudulent election. I would use my powers to shut down all your internet businesses and bankrupt you. If I was the deep state, I would make everyone an example why you should never question a Democrat ever winning an election. I would imprison my foes. I would use my corrupt DAs and blackmail judges to destroy you. I would make sure all crimes I ever committed never happened. I would prosecute my biggest competition. I would make sure they could never run for office ever again. If I was the deep state, I would convince everyone that Ukraine Nazis were good and women are men. If I was the deep state, I would own every politician that mattered. If I was the deep state, I would push my pedophilia ambitions on you. If I was the deep state, you'd question your sexual identity but not the medical establishment. If I was the deep state, you would fear to ever resist me. If I was the deep state, you would wish I was really the devil. If I was the deep state, I would say mission accomplished.
You can't always tell everything that's going on right up front, because if you tell everything that's going on right up front, then your enemy is going to know exactly what you're doing.
I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing.
So yeah, we have a bigger issue than just Democrats. We have an issue of the American indoctrinated people that just let things like this go. It's been happening for years and years and years, and frankly, I'm sick of it. And so I'm just telling you, they're telling you, and they've been telling you this stuff in front of your face for a really long time.
Our own government working against us. I mean, we've always had the government working against us. We just didn't know it. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's AprilLaJune. And yes, the indictments are happening finally. I mean, how many times have we said, if these guys would just be arrested, maybe we would believe the things that you're saying? Because so far we've had a lot over the years, a lot of talk and no action. And it's really, really, really been so corrupt. I have to say, I'm kind of surprised that they're doing it in a way. I figured they'd string us along, but I mean, Trump hasn't even been in for a year, so that's good. I want to say hello to Kim Blanchard and Linden Drive. How are you? That was funny how you put that. Lovely. Nice to see you. And then we've got Joyce. She says, haven't seen you in a few years. I know. Because that's what happens when you're shadow banned. We've got John over there on Rumble and Country Girl. How are you? Nice to see all of the people. But Phil, I believe Phil's over there in Kansas City, aren't you? I think that you are. And Richard, one of my moderators. Nice to see you too. And, I've got different moderators for different things. I'm on X. I'm on Facebook and Rumble and several YouTube channels and, whatever. So choose whichever platform you like. Yes, that's what I thought. Phil is in Kansas City. So this was interesting. And that John Bolton, he should have been indicted a long time ago because he wrote that book, remember? And he put all the stuff in it. It's like, dude, what are you doing? You literally put this stuff in your book. And he hates Donald Trump so much. And he hates him because, remember, he was the national security advisor and Trump fired him. It's like, whoa, you are like a rabid animal on war. We got to do something about this guy. Because, talk about a rabid animal. That's how he was. And he's still that way. And as soon as Trump fired him, talk about a guy who has put himself out there as a Trump hater. Wow. So that tells you if you do anything against this guy, the first thing he's going to do is try to attack you and pretend as if he is the almighty everything. And so, I just found him to be ridiculous. I didn't think he was like that at first. And I'm pretty sure Trump and them didn't think he was like that either, because they hired him and then they promptly fired him. Although I will say, remember Scaramucci? Is that his name? Whatever his name is. He was like press secretary. I don't even think he was 24 hours and he was in and out. That was hilarious. And then he got the boot and said, I hate Trump. He's terrible. It's like, no, you were terrible. You were ridiculous. I think Sean Spicer was the funniest. I have to say. Sean Spicer was just, yeah, he was good. I also like Sarah Huckabee as a press secretary. And of course, Kayleigh McEnany was good too. Brian, how are you over there in Star? Nice to see you too. Yeah, Pence is a problem too. From what I understand, though, Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi might be next. We'll see. There's a guy who's running for office. He's running for Senate, and he's got some links. I don't really know the guy, but he's posted that it looks like, and I'll show you his postings. It looks like Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi are next. And Nancy Pelosi is nervous. Anthony Scaramucci. Thank you, Kim. That's right. It was Anthony Scaramucci. How funny. Omarosa. Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot all about Omarosa. Nice to see you, Barb. Brian over there on X. He's like, don't forget Omarosa. Yeah. She didn't last very long either, but I think Scaramucci was like the shortest employment ever in the Trump whole entire however many years he's been in business. Think Trump will go after Obama? No one's above the law. Well, you got to remember, it's not really Trump going after him. It's the DOJ. And yes, it's Trump's administration, but it's like, we already know they're criminals. We've known they're criminals for a long, long time. It's not like it's not like it's hard, Nancy Pelosi will just dive into her Jack Daniels bottle like a genie in a bottle. Yeah, that's possible. Who knows? I mean, it is just unbelievable. I do want to show you the indictment, though. Let me see if I can put this up there for you. I don't know if you guys have read it at all, but here is the indictment. and there's 18 criminal charges, but they're kind of in groups, and it goes through the introduction here. This is kind of how you write a federal lawsuit. I don't think this one is written very well, but hey, whatever. It's just my opinion, because I write federal lawsuits almost at least one or two a week. All right. So I find this kind of interesting, the way that they put it in here, but it does say in here that he's the national security advisor. He had all this access to top security clearance stuff, which of course you would. And then basically he did the same thing that Obama did. I don't know if you know this or not, but Obama still hasn't given back the documents that he had, according to the Library of Congress. He's got a whole bunch of documents he hasn't given back either. But Bolton was apparently given several chances to give back the documents, and he just wouldn't do it. And as it lays it out in here, he just kept on, he'd share it with all these different people. Well, of course, he shared it with the world in his book. It's like, what? So I don't know how he could think that it's not coming at some point. But here is the Bolton's transmission of national defense information to individuals 1 and 2, which is his wife and daughter. We already know that. While he was a national security advisor. But of course, they just say individuals 1 and 2. We're going to hide their identity. Yeah, it's really hidden when all of the news outlets already know relevant activities before and after Bolton's tenure as national security advisor ends. Bolton publishes The Room Where It Happened, a White House memoir. I don't know why, but that just seems like a Hillary Clinton headline. What was it? Something about why I lost. I don't know. I remember her book was. You remember how she said, you might ask why I'm down by 50 points. No, I don't need to know why, because I'm pretty sure I already know. Because you're a crook. Helpful Hope says, remember, no, I know all of these guys on all of their Twitter stuff and all their social media say, no one is above the law. Letitia James saying the same thing. No one is above the law, except, of course, if you're a Democrat, Yeah. And I believe the predicate crime is mishandling classified materials. Yeah, I think that's true, too. Oh, Sue, you're in here, are you? Nice to see you. And Techno Mag is here. Yeah, I find it really... I don't know. It really pisses me off. That's the only thing I can think of. It really, 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 really makes me mad how they can say that stuff like no one is above the law, break the law, and even they were breaking the law before they even said it. And all of a sudden, we're supposed to just agree with them because they're them. It makes no sense to me. And believe me, I'm sure that if I was right there in front of Letitia James asking her, well, wait a minute, didn't you try to indict President Trump on mortgage fraud? And isn't that the same exact thing that you actually did? Because he didn't do that. Letitia James filled out the documents herself. Donald Trump hasn't done anything like that. He hasn't, and he didn't even do the evaluation on his own properties. The bank came out and did it themselves. So it's kind of like, what are you talking about? Letitia James did it herself. So we've got now, as far as mortgage fraud is concerned, I'm wondering if they're going to look at Maxine Waters too, because now you've got not just Letitia James on mortgage fraud, but it's also Adam Schiff on mortgage fraud, Lisa Cook on mortgage fraud as well. And then we have Maxine Waters. Now, the law actually states for these people that at the time that they are elected, they have to live within their district. Now, I don't think that applies to Adam Schiff anymore, because he says his primary residence is, I think he says it's in it's Maryland. Might be Delaware, but it's somewhere there. I think it's Maryland, though. And he is representing supposedly California. I don't think he represents anything but the deep state, just so you know. I don't think California, he doesn't even care. So that is a false thing anyway. So he's saying his primary residence is in, I'm pretty sure it's Maryland. And it's supposed to be in California. So every single time they're reelected, the same rules would apply. And they're not like that at all. I wanted to see what you said. If Pelosi wrote a book, it would be done in crayon and she would not stay on the lines because she's so drunk. I think that might be true. Yes, Brandon would have been indicted, but given a pass because he is unfit. He was unfit for when he was sitting there. He was an old, doddering old coot that was incompetent to stand trial, as per special counsel Robert Hur. Yeah, and which was interesting because they said, okay, Democrats, if this guy is saying that he is incompetent to stand trial, why is he still in office? So he's either competent to stand trial or he's not. And if he's not, he needs to get out of being president, which we already know he wasn't president anyway, because the auto pen was the president. And Donald Trump really did change Joe Biden's picture out with the auto pen. Just saying. Let's do the truth. Yeah, that's true. They said Mar-a-Lago is only, Letitia James said Mar-a-Lago is only worth $18 million. And somebody said, yeah, $18 million in one little teeny corner of Mar-a-Lago. So it's just ridiculous. The funny thing is that they defrauded the mortgage company that was defrauding them. I know. That's what I thought. I thought that was so weird. So I thought, okay, so the mortgage company is a fraudulent thing. Anyway, they're committing fraud. So you go in and you commit fraud right back at you. Is that why they didn't do anything? Because both sides were committing fraud. And it's like, well, if you turn me in, I'm going to turn you in. And if you turn me in, I'm going to turn you in. It's like, what? I would look at all the Democrats in Congress for mortgage fraud and inside stock. I know. I have a feeling that's going to happen. Now, I don't think that's the reason that they're going to indict Nancy Pelosi. I think Nancy Pelosi's is going to be the January 6th stuff. Hers should be insider trading too. I mean, but I don't know. I mean, she's really committed so many crimes. It's like throw a dart. Let's put them all up on the board and we'll throw a dart and see which one we want to do. You know what I mean? I'm concerned corrupt judges are still on the bench. Indictments seem too early. No, I don't think they're too early. Right? Is all the way down. All that because we deal with judges every single day. I have only run across maybe 2 judges that are actually not corrupt, you think, and then at the very end, after they've done everything, it's like a James Comey thing. They do everything right, and at the end, they do something wrong. At the very end. And it's like, man, you were going along right, doing the right thing, and then you render this judgment that is completely opposite of what you've been saying this whole entire time. So I don't know if people get to them and they're compromised, like if you don't rule this way, then you're going to be done. Okay. Cause they do know where their family lives, unless the point is to get some low hanging fruit out there, unimportant people, relatively speaking, to get data out there. Well, see, you could take this 2 ways. If judges are smart, and I'm not giving them any credit of being smart at all, but let's just pretend for a minute. I mean, Ketanji Brown, yikes. She makes AOC look like a professor. Just saying. So if you're a judge and you're watching this thing and all eyes are on you, it's possible you might go, okay, if these guys are being indicted, it's really possible that if I don't follow the actual law, in the Constitution, I could be indicted too, because they have indicted a few judges too. I think you brought up a good point. I would see who in the mortgage company was, see if it's BlackRock. Well, BlackRock, Vanguard, and there's one other, and I can't remember who it is, own just about everything. And I want to say it's Palantir, but because Palantir is getting its fingers in a lot of stuff lately, just so you know. Yeah, it's crazy out there. Let me show you. I didn't really want to get too much into the indictment there, because I mean, you guys can go look at that yourself. But here's an interesting thing. I want to go through these videos because it's really interesting. Let's do this. Let's see, which one do I want to do? There's so many good ones. The John Bolton thing is really, let's do the one it's a 4-minute little thing here about John Bolton. Yeah, here it is. Just want to make sure.
Former National Security Advisor John Bolton has been indicted and is now the third critic of President Trump to face criminal charges in recent weeks. Retribution is here. Bolton, for his part, was indicted yesterday by a federal grand jury in Maryland. Just moments ago, he arrived at a federal courthouse in Maryland, suburban D.C., where he is expected to surrender to authorities and make an initial court appearance. That's according to two senior federal law enforcement sources. You can see him entering the courthouse there just a few moments ago. Bolton faces 18 counts related to the transmission and retention of national defense information. Prosecutors say that Bolton stored diary-like entries about his time in government that included classified information and then shared more than 1,000 pages of that information with two family members who did not have security clearances. NBC.
Now, just so we're clear here, I want to interject. Hillary Clinton had a private server that was a pipeline to China. And she had classified information on that. And James Comey said so when he came out and did all his little song and dance about how here's all the charges against her and nobody's going to bring anything against her. So if this is with Bolton, what's coming for her?
The news has identified them as his wife and daughter. Bolton is denying any wrongdoing, comparing the Trump administration to Joseph Stalin's secret police, who said, "You show me the man and I'll show you the crime." Joining us now to talk about this and others things, New York Times investigative reporter Michael Schmidt, co-host of The Weeknight on MSNBC, Simone Sanders Townsend, MSNBC legal correspondent and former litigator Lisa Rubin. Great panel. Now, thank you all for joining us this morning.
Just so we're clear here, they're not as vile as they normally are. That's why I'm playing it, because apparently they're starting to understand that they're not going to escape this stuff, and the propaganda that they push all the time is not making us swaying our position in any way.
So starting with you, first, just give us a sense as to what will happen in that courthouse today. John Bolton just entered. But also there has been and talk us about the actual nature of these charges. There seems to be, per experts we've been speaking to, more of a there than perhaps what we've seen facing Letitia James and James Comey.
Okay, now, I don't know if they're saying this because Bolton was, I don't know, a Republican, but he says there's more there in this particular case. So it's likely he will be found guilty. Okay. This guy's actually saying this stuff.
Well, let's talk about what's going to happen this morning. We can report, MSNBC can report, that John Bolton is inside the courthouse this morning. He is inside the U.S. Marshal's suite with his lawyer, Abby Lowell, and some of the prosecutors who were present yesterday for the return of the indictment. We expect that he will be processed, which involves fingerprinting and the taking of a picture solely for internal uses. And then he will wait to make an initial appearance before Judge Theodore Chuang of the District of Maryland. We don't.
Just so you know, the judge is Taiwanese, which doesn't make any difference. but he is a Democrat. He was put there by, I want to say the Biden, it might have been Biden, but I think it was Obama.
Know exactly what time that will happen. We don't expect him, however, to be arraigned this morning. That's the process through which somebody enters a plea of guilty or not guilty. That is not expected to happen this morning. In terms of whether or not there's a there, Simone and I were talking about this offset. And this is one of those situations, John, that I would say two things can be true. To, quote our colleague, Huma Abedin, it's a both and situation. This can be retributive and meritorious at the same time. I was struck in reading this indictment and how many parallels there are to the Trump Mar-a-Lago case. Yeah. Obviously, John Bolton facing 8.
Now, see, this is where they start being weird. Remember how they always, and they've done it without fail, say you're doing exactly what they're actually doing every time. So that might be why it's a parallel, because they were actually doing it.
18 counts of both retaining and distributing national defense information. But one of the things that comes across clearly that prosecutors clearly want people to read into it is how many times John Bolton had an opportunity to come clean and return information. That started with a settlement that he reached with the Department of Justice over the publication of his book in early 2021 that obligated him to return any residual classified or national defense information in his possession. That continued in the summer when his team reported to the FBI that he had been hacked through his AOL account by a foreign entity identified as,
which is not true,
somebody close to the Iranian Republic.
Somebody.
And in that situation, they were also
it was
not
identified as
prosecutors
somebody.
Fully forthcoming.
It was identified as somebody. Wow, what an ace report you got there.
About the ways in which John Bolton used that AOL account to communicate classified and national defense information to his wife and daughter as he was sending them diary entries, perhaps later to be used in his memoir. There are also places where they say, based on his interviews, that John Bolton fully understood the rules of the road. And they quote sort of prolifically from cable news interviews that he gave in 16 and 17, criticizing Hillary Clinton, and later in 2025, talking about Pete Hegseth and the Signal chat. What's notably missing from that, though, are all the interviews John Bolton did, including with our colleague Ken Delanian in 2022, where he lambasted President Trump for his own handling of classified materials and the cavalierness with which President Trump was sharing classified or otherwise sensitive information with folks.
Yeah, he wasn't. Just so you know, he wasn't doing any of that stuff. Yes, and now I say it. Is that the X-22 report? Is that the Sergeant report? That's how I always called it, the Sergeant report. Anyway. Whatever, X-22. Dave from X-22 is saying that Trump let them set the precedents, and then now he's following their path, which I believe that probably is true. I mean, I think we said that even early on, within this last year or something, that the Sergeant report. He's letting them, I think we said this a long time ago when all this stuff started, was that he's letting them show their hand and set the precedent. And once the precedent is set, they can say, well, in this case, you did this. In this case, you did that. In this case, you did that. Now, of course, I do think that there was a lot more precedent out there anyway, just for crimes in general, because there's a whole bunch of people who've been indicted along the way that we don't even hear about. And they're just lower level people that there's no reason. I mean, it's almost like this. If you have so many of these cases on your desk, you got to figure out which one is the most high profile case and use that one for your report, because otherwise you could be reporting on that same stuff all day long. And that gets to be a little bit tedious and boring for an audience. Okay. You know what I find interesting is they keep reflecting tomorrow. Oh, the Mar-a-Lago raid. At least they didn't go through John Bolton's underwear drawer like the FBI did to Melania. Yeah, for sure. They said no one is above the law. Guess what? Exactly. So here we have John Bolton. He's the third. So we had Letitia James. Was Letitia James first? I think she was. Letitia James. Then it was James Comey. Now it's John Bolton. Next, it could be Nancy Pelosi or Adam Schiff. I hope that it is one of them. Let's put up there. I want to put up there this post on X. The reason I want to is because I think it's kind of interesting that what this guy is saying on here. Let's do this one. Let me see. Yeah, I want to do this one first, the Adam Schiff one. The reason I want to do the Adam Schiff one first is because there's not as much on him as there is on Nancy Pelosi. So, breaking, hearing from a source, a very well-connected individual. This is Joshua Hall. He's running for, or he did run for an office, apparently. Breaking, hearing from a source, a very well-connected individual, that Adam Schiff will be the next major deep state indictment to come, and it's going to be one of the most serious criminal cases ever brought against a politician in American history. Buckle up. Now, I hope that's true. I hope that's true. Look at these funny people. And the reason I think this might even be more serious is because of the Russian collusion thing. You know, that could be the reason. Now, they're saying that he committed, at least from what I know, that he has committed mortgage fraud. Now, that just might be an initial thing, because until the charges actually come and there's an actual real indictment, you don't know exactly what they're coming after. But mortgage fraud, if he's saying that this is a very, very serious thing, an indictment for Adam Schiff, and it's more serious than anything else, I just think it's probably far beyond mortgage fraud. It just seems like it should be. They arrested an Indian guy in the Pentagon who, I guess, for years has been copying classified documents, selling it to the Chinese. They raided his house and they found piles of documents. I don't think that's unusual, if you want to know the truth. I don't think that's unusual. Should it be? Yes. Is it? No. Just happened the day before yesterday. They arrested him and they raided his house and they found tons of classified documents, and some of the documents were of military technology. Yeah, I think that might be one of the reasons why at the Pentagon, Pete Hegseth said, here's the new rules for reporters. And if you don't like those rules, get out. And so all of the major news stations got out of the Pentagon. Now, I don't know about you, but I find it no skin off Pete Hegseth's nose or Donald Trump's administration. It's like, so all we had to do was change the rules and tell you that you don't have an office in the Pentagon, which is really now the Department of War. Okay, changed its name to the Department of War. Fine, I don't care. And you pool of reporters have been leaking so much stuff that now you're going to have to sign an agreement. And exactly, Kim is right. She said, good riddance. I agree with that. It's like, okay, don't let the door hit you. You're not even, you're like doing Geraldo moments. Get out. Okay, remember when Geraldo was embedded with the military and he told them where they were? Yeah, and they said, okay, get out. OAN is following the rules? Yeah, I think OAN would follow the rules. Fox News even said, see ya. I thought, this is perfect, because if anyone who's an independent reporter wants to go there and be one of those reporters and have an office there, they could actually do that. And I thought, wow, if I was in Washington, D.C., that's probably where I would go. I'd go, okay, sure. I'm going to put in my application right now as an independent journalist. I'm going to have my office right there. We're in the Pentagon news area, and sure, you know, because I mean, do you really want to tell the secrets? Of course not. But it sure be nice to know what they're, you know, the things that the public can know, what they're doing. Like Pete Hegseth, he got money to pay the troops. Okay, that's a newsworthy story, especially after the Democrats are going out there and saying, we can't pay the troops. Oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Donald Trump's terrible. Okay, go whine in the corner, get a little Kleenex box, whatever it takes, just get away from me. Yeah, it's so ridiculous. Exactly. Freedom of the press does not mean aiding and abetting the enemy. I know. I agree. I've been a reporter since, I don't know, 1997 or 8, somewhere in there. I don't know exactly. And you would not, just because there's something there that, you've got some information, doesn't mean you should publish it, because it could be detrimental to, of course, if it's detrimental to the country, why would you want to print that? And then it could be detrimental to people in the field. You wouldn't want to print that, or individuals. You're not supposed to be printing things that are vindictive just because to try to ruin people's lives, or any kind of classified material like that. That would be just stupid. Okay. And yeah, I realize the Pentagon and all these areas are going to give propaganda to the point. I know that, but at least you have the ability to ask them the questions. You could say to Pete Hegseth, hey, what about this? What about that? What about this? And get him on the record for whatever he's saying, and let the people decide. See, that's the thing, is the people are supposed to be deciding what they think is happening when you ask the question of one of these people, whether it's Donald Trump, the press secretary, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, whatever. You're supposed to get to ask the questions that are pertinent and people want to know, and let the audience make up their mind. They're not stupid. They can figure it out, what is being said. Okay. And then you watch the actions of the people to see if what their actions are is what they're doing. So right now, at first, the Epstein files, I don't care about. I know some of you guys do. What about the Epstein files? Here's why I don't care about them. I think they're great leverage. I really do. I think they're great leverage, and that might be why they're there. But the other thing is, they're so tainted. They've been there for years. Okay. And so by now, it's so tainted, you probably couldn't even tell what's real and what's not. And if the Democrats actually thought that there was something worth putting out there, or any of those people, then they would have done it a long time ago. So apparently the only thing that's in them is Democrat crimes, or people who are deep state, whatever. Hi, Ralph. Nice to see you. The reporters want to tell the people what to believe. I know, because they're propaganda pushers. Remember, Mika B let that out of the bag? Well, anybody who goes to journalism school should know this by now. That the journalists of today, it was almost like right after I got out of school, the journalists of today are told that they have to tell you what to believe and what the story means, because you're not smart enough to get it. Chanel Rayon of OAN changed the White House press room for the better. I remember when she first started, I was like, oh, wow, this girl has a long way to go, but she did good, and she's doing very good. She's very unafraid, and I think that's good. And sometimes you just got to be not afraid to ask the hard questions, because that's how you get the information. It's the stuff that you shouldn't be treating these people with kid gloves just because they're who they are. You shouldn't be doing that at all, because they work for us. We don't work for them. Okay, so now let's move to Nancy Pelosi and what we think is going to happen. Well, before we do that, let's do this. This is Peter.
Well, it's nonsense. I'm not a
Bill
politician.
Bolton.
I'm in the business of mortgages and housing, and when I see mortgage fraud, I report it. I mean, that's what I was hired to do. I swore in my testimony well before I even knew about the Schiff situation that I would root out mortgage fraud. And that's exactly what I'm doing. And I'm not going to be intimidated by the media, who is now coming up with these crazy hit pieces,
for you,
or
Bill?
Politicians like Adam Schiff and his lawyers who are trying to attack me. I'm a regulator, and I'm the conservator on behalf of President Trump, under President Trump's leadership. And in President Trump's America, we're not going to have mortgage fraud. It doesn't matter who you are, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. If you do mortgage fraud, we're going to come after you.
Well, it seems like this is a contagious disease, okay? Because
you're right, Laura. I'm not a fan of Laura. Yeah, I mean, we have so many files for Bill Pulte. It's ridiculous. And so since he said it, I wanted to put it on the record that he said it. And we're going to be sending him all the files he can handle. Let me see here. Yeah, I want to show you this other video. Now, we're going to move to Nancy Pelosi because this is crazy. This is crazy stuff. Some of us have already seen this a while ago. Okay? So, and it's weird how they're framing it in some of these reports. But here's a video that Nancy Pelosi's daughter was shooting for the January 6th documentary that Nancy Pelosi was involved in.
Well, the reason, see, I think time is going to remember January 6th. Right now, people are still in the heat. There's two things. Media needs stuff to fill. I mean, if you watch TV on January 6th, it's like January 6th, 24/7. As time goes on, it's going to be less. Yeah. And so I think also people are going to lose their office, the jobs. The people that were there are going to lose their jobs. So it's not going to mean anything if you weren't even there and you weren't even there.
We need like a water breakup.
Yeah, no, it's right. No. Okay, I thank you for your time.
Oh, absolutely.
Listen, I really, I know you're not the bad guy.
Now remember, this is on January 6th. This is them talking. Alexandra Pelosi is Nancy Pelosi's daughter. This is actually on January 6th, where the insurrection was happening, not in the building where any of them were. Sure.
I mean, if there is, I haven't found the bad guy yet, but if there is, I know you're not the bad guy.
I mean, he's like a stereotypical bad guy.
But the thing is, why I asked you the question of like, so what was the plan? Is that if there was an insurrection, you were supposed to be in line marching. You're in the military, you know this.
No,
you were supposed to have a plan.
Exactly. It's called operating soldier. You sit down overnight with your soldiers. You go over. All right, you're gonna go here. You're gonna go in by this side. At this time, we're gonna take over this. There's none of that.
If there was an insurrection, it's the scariest insurrection in the 20th.
They're literally talking about what you're supposed to do. And it's like, yeah. And I showed you yesterday the phone logs.
First century ever. No guns.
A guy smoking pot.
I love the guy.
Yeah, I like.
Well, we did that. We just went to New Hampshire last week for the guy that just was drinking beer.
My favorite guy.
Isn't that ridiculous? They're literally sitting there and talking about the plan. You should have had a plan. All this stuff. They had a plan to do zip because of Nancy Pelosi. Now look, there is this is crazy to me. Some of this stuff. Okay, so here's another
real faces of J6. Do you know what they all have in common? Shockingly, they are all leftists and Democrats.
Is Sunrise here? Hi.
And they are all against Donald Trump.
It's got to go. Trump's got to go.
Regardless of whether he legitimately won the election or not.
He knows he's an illegitimate president.
Now, thanks to an investigation by Millie Weaver, we know who they are, what they did, and how they fooled us all into believing the insurrection was perpetrated by MAGA supporters.
We need to put the pressure on the Democratic National Committee to not have Biden concede.
And we now have the evidence.
Take over the buildings. There may be some
Did you see that?
people that are willing to break the windows to get into the government buildings. Yes, you can use disguises. You
Like burning buildings are legitimate and powerful forms of resistance. I love the term siege because I feel like that's exactly what we're going to do.
And then there's the National Guard. What would a campaign look like to go to all the Democratic governors and to make a commitment now to refuse to deploy the National Guard?
The real deep state is here. The evidence shows that these are the real violent insurrectionists, that they were behind J6, and they are guilty of fooling us all.
I was in the front. I also orchestrated it.
Trump 2024.
See, this is stuff that we already knew long ago. It makes no sense to me about reports like this. I'm going to show you this one. This makes no sense to me because we said this long ago.
Breaking overnight, never-before-seen documentary footage
Never
of Nancy
before.
Pelosi responding to
Never.
the January 6th insurrection. Video shot by HBO, turned over to Congress, and then obtained by CBS News. Some filmed as
her
Pelosi
daughter.
was being evacuated from the Capitol.
How many times did members ask, are we prepared? Are we prepared? We're not. Prepared for the worst. We're calling the National Guard now. Should have been here to start out. Why weren't the National Guard there to begin with?
Because you said no.
They thought that they had sufficient resources. There's not a question of how they had. They don't know. They clearly didn't know.
They did.
And I take responsibility for not having them just prepare for more. Because it's
Scott McFarland's here with us. Scott, good morning to you.
Hey, Tony, it's quite something. Nancy Pelosi is heard talking about the prompt impeachment of Donald Trump and saying he must pay a price for January 6th. And at one point in the video, she's heard calling him a domestic enemy in the White House and encouraging the invocation of the 25th Amendment to remove him. She's also heard blasting some of the Capitol security officials who'd be out of their jobs hours after the January 6th attack. But all of this puts in context what the House January. It was Trump who waited 3 hours before urging his supporters who were attacking police to leave that day. Nate?
Now, don't you look at that? Look at that right there. Did you see that video? That's where the FBI instigators, they're all like, come on, let's go. Come on, let's go. Yeah. So that was, remember, 274 installments all right there. So I wonder, were any of them actually Trump supporters? I don't know. It to me, it's, yeah, I think they should have term limits too. This lifetime installation of crooks is just not good. Yeah, I think Pelosi is probably one of the worst offenders. Guantanamo Bay for them all. Well, look at this video too. This is a very interesting video as well.
Are you at all concerned about the new January 6th committee finding you liable for that day? Why did you refuse the National Guard on January 6th?
Shut up. I did not refuse the National Guard. The president didn't send it. Why are you coming here with Republican talking points as if you're a serious journalist?
Because she is a serious journalist.
Should we call the Capitol Police? I mean, the National Guard? Why weren't the National Guard there to begin with? They thought that they had sufficient resources. There's not a question of how they had. They don't know. They clearly didn't know, and I take responsibility for not having them.
She said, I take responsibility for not having them.
For more, because it's stupid that we should be in a situation like this.
She said it's stupid that we should be in a situation like this. Now, just so we're clear here, she wasn't even in the building. She was in a completely different location. No public servant should ever talk to the public like she does. I know. For Nancy Pelosi to turn around and point her finger at that reporter like that is an egregious violation of the public trust, I think. To sit there and say that she didn't do that, which is a blatant lie, which we knew years ago. We said it. I got strikes on my channel and bans on my channel. Like it was like for 7 days or 14 days or 30 days because I was saying, no, this is not an insurrection. This was a stolen election. And everybody with a brain in their head can see it and knows it. Yeah. Paul, Nancy, and Gavin deserve their own isolated, sealed, single cell. Yeah. You know what? Maybe we should just round them all up, take them to Gitmo, and play Donald Trump videos all day long. I think that would be great. Yes, I did see the thing about Stacey Abrams too. This whole U.S. aid thing and Bolton is the same thing. There's something about Bolton and the NGOs. Let me see. I think I've got that one here. I'll show it while we're talking about it. No, that's not it. That's the judge. There's one here. Here it is. Here it is. So FYI, John Bolton's nonprofit was a benefactor of your tax dollars via U.S. aid and hasn't filed taxes in years. John Bolton, director and chairman of Institute for Secure America, Inc. Yeah. So this is interesting as well. Sometimes I wonder how much money you would have made. Oh, I already know. Yes, it's been calculated. But Stacey Abrams, these liberals, they've been funneling money through all kinds of these government paid for supposed charities. This one was Stacey Abrams. I think it had something to do with supposed voter, something with voters. And here she is. She's the big gal in more ways than one. And she got like $2 billion. I want to say it's 20 billion, but let's just go with $2 billion and made $100 profit. So now that nonprofit has been defunded. It's no longer, I believe that one of the CFOs or something resigned. One of the head directors resigned too. And now Stacey Abrams is out of a job, which is fine. Like USAID was here's like this big pool of money. And what Democrats do, and some Republicans, I can't say that it's only Democrats, because I mean, Mike Searpoint of Missouri, it took the Democrat playbook, because he's really a Democrat, and made a nonprofit so that he could get an endorsement from a pro-life organization to pretend as if he's pro-life while he's getting money for his campaign from a college in St. Louis, Missouri, that teaches doctors how to be abortion doctors. So it's kind of like, okay, you think we can't follow the money? Of course we can follow the money, as long as we're not blocked from following the money. So they make up these little organizations, these little nonprofits, because they're really not nonprofits. Only thing to be a nonprofit is, in order to take the funds from one year to the next, you have to allocate all the funds, all of them. So it doesn't make any difference how you allocate them, as long as you do. And then you can keep your nonprofit status from going from here to here. I mean, who in their right mind in a nonprofit is going to make $500,000 a year? That's Planned Parenthood. Remember that woman that was blonde? I can't even remember her name. Now she's working with the George Soros Foundation, Open Societies. And she's in there now as one of his head directors of something, probably the head director of murdering all children, whatever. She's in there, and she was making $500,000 a year as the CEO of Planned Parenthood. Are you seriously kidding me? What kind of nonprofit is that? So just because you have a nonprofit doesn't mean that you're not making profit. You yourself might be making profit, but the thing isn't making profit, because all the funds are allocated. That's the whole point. So just like this climate change hoax stuff, they have NGOs for climate change, and that's how they money launder all this money and filter it out to Democrat campaigns. That's what they do. They make a nonprofit for something, like it was the remember the school shooting down there in Florida, where David Hogg became, I don't know, a forefront weirdo of the Democratic Party. Well, at the time of that incident, they made a nonprofit that was like Moms Against Guns or something like that. And Act Blue, who's always behind it, started funneling money through there, funneling money through the nonprofit, spreading it out to candidates all over the United States so they could still continue with the money laundering to Democrat people. So that's how they get foreign money. They give foreign money to an NGO, which then gives it to this candidate and this candidate and this candidate. Republicans really don't have that, okay? Because Republicans are really, really stupid when it comes to this stuff. So Republicans, if you're running for an office, and it doesn't matter what the office is, the Republican Party is not there for you. Guarantee you 100%. I have worked with many Republican candidates, okay, not just myself, but many different ones all over in different areas. And every single time it comes down to it where the Republican Party is absent. They're not there. So when I noticed that in one of the areas that we had these candidates, I was like, excuse me, aren't we supposed to be giving money to these candidates? Don't we want to win? This is ridiculous. We need to win. And the only way to win is if you guys actually get behind your candidates. So if we're going to choose candidates, and we need to be strategic about this. We need to choose a candidate here, one for here, one for here. This is what the Democrats are really good at, that targeting places where they can infiltrate. And so then we have to give them seed money to be able to get their campaign going. And then with that seed money, we need to make it grow. We need to be helping them, because the Republican Party's basic mode of operation is hands off. That's why I say, don't give it to the Republican Party. Don't give your money to the Republican Party. Give it to the candidate. There's no point in giving it to the Republican Party who's doing absolutely zero for the candidates whatsoever, unless you're up at the very top. And if you can see that you're at the very top, the Republican Party is trying to skim off Donald Trump. I don't give them any money. And I tell them, they've actually stopped calling me, because I was like, why would I give money to you? Why? What is the point of me giving money to you? You guys don't do anything. If I'm going to give money to somebody, I'm going to give it back to the candidate, not giving it to you. That's another money laundering thing. I don't care about the Republican Party. What I do care about is the candidate. And that's how we should all be. And we should be calling out all of these ridiculous Republicans that are coming out and spewing Democrat talking points. We should be saying something about that. In fact, I'm going to show you one of the biggest offenders, Missouri. I think he's a House Representatives. Let's see. What is his name? Lincoln Huff. Lincoln Huff. This is the absolute worst offender of trying to hijack a Republican seat, because this guy is pure through and through Democrat. Okay, see this guy? He runs every time. Oh, I'm slick. I am a slick guy. Doesn't he look slick? Candidate. Yeah, Lincoln Huff. He thinks that he is God's gift to politics. And he's the worst voting record in the House in Missouri, because he votes with Democrats all the time. And this is how stupid Republicans are. They keep backing him because he's got an R by his name. Why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense to me. Just because this guy is talking to Republicans, you should be calling him out when he's there. Look at your voting record. Your voting record is terrible. You're really a Democrat. What are you doing running as a Republican? In fact, I think we should just come out and deny, because we're gonna primary you. We're gonna get somebody else out there. See, then you got a rigged voting system where, in the end, there's the installation once again. Mike Searpoint, same thing in Missouri. You can go all over the country in places that are supposedly red majority, because Missouri looks like a super majority on paper. The whole place looks red. The only thing that looks blue is Jackson County and St. Louis County. That's it. Maybe, I think there might be one about Columbia, because that's, college students aren't the brightest bulbs, just saying. Okay, so that being said, we have these teeny tiny little pockets of Democrats everywhere, but they are the loudest brats in the world, screaming, yelling, acting crazy. And it makes no sense at all. Yeah, listen, look at this. This is true. Uncle Festerman has a better voting record after having a severe stroke. I know. He's talking about John Fetterman. John Fetterman. If you don't know who John Fetterman is, I'm going to put his picture up here for you because you need to know. John Fetterman. He's from Pennsylvania. He's a senator. And talk about a goofy looking guy. All right. This guy is like a Neanderthal. So, I mean, I don't even get it. I literally don't get it. He's always wearing the sweatshirt. I mean, he always looks like he just came out of the gutter. I don't get it. So here he has a stroke. They still run him for his seat. He's running as a Democrat. They still run him, even though the guy can't even string together two sentences because he had a stroke. Brain fog. Now, all of a sudden, he comes back as a Republican. Maybe it was the Democrat policies that were getting to him and the pressure of the fact that it's like no common sense whatsoever. And he just snapped and had a stroke. And then he came back as a Republican. And now it's like everybody's asking him, why are you a Republican? It was Bill O'Reilly asked him at a town hall or an interview or something. It doesn't even make sense that you're a Democrat at all. You should be at least an independent. And so at that point, John Fetterman says, well, my whole entire family is Republican. I'm the only Democrat. And so, I've been a Democrat all my life. And I'm thinking to myself, are you hearing the words that are coming out of your mouth? Your mom and your dad are saying, hey, you woke up, you smelled the coffee. It's time to stop being a Democrat. He beat out Dr. Oz at one point. I know. Mark Gallagher, nice to see you. Yeah, I've been gone for quite a while because they banned my channel over political stuff. And then, thank you, Donald Trump. They were forced to write a letter to Congress stating the obvious. And so they reinstated people's channels who had channels like mine, independent reporting, independent commentary on politics, and were banned for political points of view. They had to admit that we were being censored. And so that's just crazy, isn't it? Fetterman has now broken from the Democratic Party and is going to be an independent. He didn't say that right out, as far as I know. At least before the show, he didn't say that. So if he is going to do that, I would certainly encourage him to do that. I think anybody breaking away from the Democratic Party is a good thing. So anyway, that's a wrap for this week. And just pay attention, be careful. Tomorrow is the No Kings rally. It's supposed to have people dressed up like Trump supporters. So if you see any propaganda in like that, I highly doubt that it's anyone that is a conservative that would attend that crazy, probably naked fest. I ain't going. You can't always tell everything that's going on right up front, because if you tell everything that's going on right up front, then your enemy is going to know exactly what you're doing.
I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing.
So yeah, we have a bigger issue than just Democrats. We have an issue of the American indoctrinated people that just let things like this go. It's been happening for years and years and years, and frankly, I'm sick of it. And so I'm just telling you, they're telling you, and they've been telling you this stuff in front of your face for a really long time.
Our own government working against us. I mean, we've always had the government working against us. We just didn't know it.